long as it's going to – oh, here we go. And 3, 2, 1. We continue the broadcast from Radio Row in San Francisco. I'm Pat Strathman. We have ourselves a former Chief in the house, New England Patriot as well, linebacker Darius Harris joining us here on the program. Darius, how's it feel to be here and to, I guess, see the Super Bowl? I guess you just got to get involved with the team in order for a team to make it to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, just what it sounds like.
Hey, that's what it seems like. I don't know. God has been working in my favor. Some say I'm a good luck charm. I've just been blessed to, experience this for the fifth time. First time being able to experience Media Row.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's good to, just connect, brand yourself, and kind of just create platforms that create roles for my post-playing career once I'm done, to utilize the people here and utilize other opportunities to see what it is that I find interest in, or that I, kind of want to dive into once I'm done playing. But overall, man, Super Bowl is just a blessing to be at, whether you're playing in it or whether you're, networking or whatever it is your purpose,
Yeah. What is life like away from Kansas City? Let's just ask that question.
Life after Kansas City. So last year, I was fortunate enough to be on the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then this year, after camp, I got released and the Patriots claimed me, and everything was pretty much has worked out in my favor. We had a winning season. I was able to get a credited season this year. I played a few games on special teams mainly, but honestly, it's been a joy. It's always a joy to have a job, and to be employed, but also to be on the winning team. A coach like Vrave, who's a former player, who resonate with the players as well, obviously playing in this league and having success, and being around some of the greats that he's played with. He takes those lessons and those teaching points and instill it in us, and I think that he's done a good job of preparing us to get to where we are now, and just Sunday finishing the goal.
How similar is Mike Vrabel compared to Andy Reid?
I knew that was coming. Well, to start off, both of those guys are high football IQ guys, and once you have your head coach of one, a high football IQ person, and just a people person that wants the best for his players, not only on the field but off the field, I think anybody can resonate with him, because he pushes you in the way to just explore your greatest self. And once you have a coach like that, man, it's pretty similar in a sense. Now, they might have different teaching tactics or methods or communication skills, but honestly, I've been fortunate enough to be coached by both of those guys that has led me to grow not only as a player, but as a man with my kids, in my faith, and, in my marriage and everything. So they do a good job of, one, just developing good people.
That's where it starts, obviously. It's where it starts. Mike Vrabel, maybe the biggest difference between the two would be, Mike Vrabel, you see him at the beginning of the season getting in a scuffle, if you will.
Yeah.
As a player, does that jack you up, to see something like that?
Yeah. So kind of going back to the comparison, obviously, Vraves, with him being, younger and
he's
a former
younger.
Player,
Let's be real. He's younger.
He's a lot more hands-on. And once you see your coach like that, in there with pads while the D-line strike them and doing drills, running, looks and helping out the team in whichever way. Once you see that from a head coach, I think it puts into realization, hey, regardless of my status, there's no way I shouldn't be out here doing the same thing. One, we get paid to play a child's game. So anything that's asked of us, whether that's go be a starter or whether that's, hey, go get, the vets, donut order, whatever it is, man, I just think once you see a coach like that with his success, with his pedigree, doing the dirty work, I think it puts that grits and that hunger in us to whatever it is we have to do on a day-to-day basis to succeed. Hey, we have no problem with it. We don't feel like we're bigger than the program or too big to do the small things. And I think that builds a camaraderie and a brotherhood that just, one, it helps event culture in the place. And also just, like you said, it makes you want to go out and play for a coach like that and just give it your all.
What about culture? So you've been a part of the locker room there in Kansas City, part of the locker room in New England, both Super Bowl teams, to say the least.
Yes.
So what about the culture in the locker room, comparing, maybe not necessarily comparing, but drawing similarities between your time as a Chief and your time as a Patriot?
It starts up top, obviously, with the coach and discipline. We have a structure set in place, and regardless of who it is, once you put a plan in place that regardless of the salary, regardless of your salary cap, regardless of your accolades, the structure is in place and everybody abides by it. And that's one thing that I can't, the similarity between both there. Hey, you have your top paying people, doing the things that maybe you wouldn't expect them to do. And it just, like I said, it all starts with the structure. You put a plan in place and you implement that plan, and you don't bend it or break it for anybody. And once you can do nothing but respect it. Once you see everybody's being held to the same standard, the same accountability, it's comforting to know that, okay, he's not asking me to do something that he wouldn't ask the next person to do. And once you know that, I mean, I think that's a recipe for one, success, and just, brotherhood, that camaraderie that I referred to earlier, that makes you want to go out and do whatever it is necessary to get this win for my brothers and for my coach.
How much did you talk to the guys in the locker room this past year from Kansas City? How often did you interact with them? Obviously, a challenging season.
Yes.
So how often did you communicate with them?
Yes, it's a few players that I obviously a lot of that team I played with, and we've come across, whether that's a few years or multiple years. I mean, it was definitely rough to see Kansas City go through the season that they had, but I have no doubt in my mind that Andy Reid and those guys will, get back on track to doing the things that's needed, that they were known for, just getting back to winning. And I think it's, sometimes you kind of need that punch, or that kind of not failure in a sense, but just a down year to kind of reevaluate and just to not take for granted the success that you had in the past. And it's just start back to day one. Just, hey, go in, correct the things that might not have worked this year, go back to what worked. Obviously bringing back, EB, which is a great offensive coordinator, and, a man who, like I said, you respect and just want to go to bat for. And so they're doing the right things to get back to their winning culture. And I mean, those guys, they're professionals. They know, hey, it's the league. Everybody is going to be coming for the top dog. It's the nature of the business. So, you might have a down year, but it's how you respond to that, which I know those guys will be resilient and get back to their winning ways and, have a bounce back year next year.
Well, you brought up EB, so let's talk about it.
Yes.
I mean, you kind of, on the surface talked about EB, a guy who's really known for holding people accountable. EB being back in that locker room, what is that going to do to Kansas City moving forward?
Yeah, so I had a pleasure of being in the office with him, obviously on the other side of the ball, but I've heard him, I've seen him. He does a good job. He's one of those old school coaches. Just a former player, of an old school coach. Like I say, he don't mind getting it to you, however it is. Just to make sure he brings the best out of you. And, nowadays I think it's a notion that guys are, softer or, maybe less willing to accept coaching. But honestly, once you have somebody like that in your building, it's your potential is through the roof, because there is nothing that you cannot accomplish when you have somebody in the room that maybe in the moment you might feel like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Mm-hmm. But when it's all said and done and you reflect about the people who made an impact on your life and the people who've pushed you past your own, fears or insecurity or whatever that may be, I think you have a bigger appreciation for what he does. Not necessarily for the X's and O's, mm-hmm. but more so just bringing the best out of people, bringing the best out of players and men.
Was there any particular day, like was there a particular moment in your brain that pops up when you think EB, a moment where he's challenging someone?
Off the top of my head.
Where do you start? Right?
Yeah. From the top of my head, with me being on the defensive side, I'm on the, whether it's warm up or individual drills on the opposite side doing my thing, and I hear him, just getting on the players about, maybe the depth of a route or maybe certain technique, small things, and you don't know what it is, but you can hear him from across the field just yelling and, demanding the best for those guys. And it's nothing personal. It's just his coaching style, and in order to win, you need guys like that. And so I can just, not a specific moment, but I can definitely remember a few times being on the opposite field, hearing a loud, random yelling like, hey, come on now, hey, the yard's supposed to be at 5, not 4. Hey, make sure 2 hands through the hole and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's any given moment, any given day, you can expect to hear him yelling and demanding the best from his players.
So Spags isn't that way. I mean, he'll get after you, but not that way.
Depends, because
if you mess up.
No, the Spags, he's a good man. He's a what is it? A genius when it comes to schematic, defensive schematic wise. He just, like I say, he's a, what is it? He knows how to affect the game on the defensive side of the ball, creating pictures pre-snap for offenses to create confusion. And one thing about it, I think everybody knows who watch at least one Kansas City game. Obviously, he don't mind bringing the pressure, bringing the heat. And I think, they do a good job of drafting players and bringing players in to operate his system, because it's a lot of nuances in it, just with the call and everything like that. But that's why, usually he has a history of having good defenses. It's just the dedication and the sacrifices that's needed to, succeed and run that defense. But he's a defensive
a savant.
Yeah. Genius, savant, guru, however you want to put it. He's definitely one of the top defensive guys that I've been in the league with and had a pleasure of playing for.
Yeah, no doubt. When you look back at those Super Bowl runs, of course, there's one game in particular in which you get a tackle. One of those games against the Eagles, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
So winning rings is great. What do you remember most about those seasons? Is there any particular moment that stands out to you with those runs?
Yes, I was telling somebody this yesterday, actually, when they was asking about some of my favorite moments. So I have two. I would say being blessed enough to win a ring with my first son and having him on the field. My second son wasn't born yet, but he was there in the stomach. And then being able to fast forward the next year, have an opportunity to go again. And my second son was born, and he was able to be with his brother. And it wasn't one of the things where growing up, the older brother had one up over the younger brother about going to the Super Bowl. So for me personally, that was a huge accomplishment, just to be able to have both of my kids to be active on the field with me after a win, to be there in person and win it all and have them on the field to celebrate with them, even though they don't know what was going on, but they'll look back at this 10 years from now and be able to brag to their friends and, oh, my dad was in the Super Bowl and won this amount of ring. Oh, I was here, pictures and stuff like that. And my last ring was special to me because I actually didn't start off the season with Kansas City. So I ended up getting signed by the Raiders at camp, had an injury. Fast forward to maybe midway through the season, they brought me back. And I kid you not, it's all God's plan. I was there for a week and brought me back to Vegas for a week. Kansas City had a few injuries. They signed me to the active roster. And it was like one of those full circle moments where I got picked up by Kansas City midway through the year. The Super Bowl was in Vegas that year. So I go from being at the Vegas facility doing camp with the Raiders to ending the season in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, practicing at the Raiders facility, going through practice and having everything set up with the Super Bowl being in Vegas. And it was just a full circle moment to me because, a little salty that they didn't bring me back at the beginning of the year. Obviously, with me being there 4 straight years, that was the only place I've been.
Yeah.
And they didn't bring me back. So it was a little salty, but I promise you, as soon as they called me, it was like, hey, we want to sign you to the active. All that went out the window, and I'm like, hey, bags packed, I'll be there tonight. And it was fortunate enough for me because I still had my stuff in Kansas City in the storage and everything. So I didn't have to, the process was easy. It was, I had my stuff there. I was able to move back, go to the storage, and end up leaving to go to, Germany that same week. So I went from Vegas Monday morning, Kansas City Monday night, Wednesday or Thursday, leaving for Germany. So it was a whirlwind, but I'm grateful for that journey because it all worked out.
Lovely. All right. Well, I got to get you out of here because I know I got more stuff going on. I know you're partnering with the Boys and Girls Club of Dallas, the Cyber Safely AI, to provide 1,000 plus free licenses to families so parents can protect their kids from cyberbullying. I have 2 daughters, one who is 2.5 years old, one who's 4 months old, and we're obviously not at that stage yet, but I'm fearful of what it's going to be like in the future. Here you are as a dad, you got years on me, so you can definitely give me all the advice and everything. So tell me more about your partnership with Boys and Girls Club of Dallas and to do something like this.
Yeah, so the initiative was just to be able to provide online safety tools and mechanism for parents to feel safe for their kids to be online. Obviously, we know in the world that we're heading in, technology is the number one platform, social media and everything. We know that that increase in
Yeah.
2026, and as we go forward, we know that's a big, it's inevitable. You can't stop it. It's only going to, grow. So we using our platform to just, like I say, provide licenses for parents to give to their kids, because obviously we want to want the kids to feel safe and feel protected from online bullying, harassment, predators, and just online hate. Obviously that comes with it, and it's easy to say, hey, don't reply to this person or don't respond to this person. But as we grow with technology, it's so many kind of hidden mirrors, smoking mirrors, or hidden things that we can't control, and we don't always know, oh, there's somebody on the other end of this that are meant to cause us harm. They dress it up into, ads and, whatever it is to obviously entice the kids in. So we're just doing that to, just provide safety for kids and make sure that even though that's a tool for them to use, social media, making sure they feel safe and using it in the right way to better themselves and to advance them.
Love it. Darius, appreciate your time. We didn't even spend a single second talking about the game on Sunday. And there's nothing wrong with that to me, because a former Chief, we got to talk a lot about the Chiefs. Darius, appreciate your time, man. And best of health and best of luck moving forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.